Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going over African World Cup qualifiers this time. Last time we went over Asia. Before we start the African segment, I just want to tell you guys that Congo is now suspended by FIFA and CAF, so they are banned from competing and all their remaining matches are cancelled, which means there are only 4 teams in Group E. Just wanted to clarify that.
Alright, so while making this video, Congo got unsuspended from FIFA, but their matches were forfeited, so it doesn't even matter. But now they are officially eliminated, but they still get to play the rest of their matches. So anyways, enjoy.
Anyways, we begin. Sierra Leone took a shot lead over second place Guinea-Bissau and doubled that midway through the second half. The Ghanaians pulled one back, but late in injury time, Sierra Leone killed off the game to give them a surprise win over the second place team at the time. Burkina Faso destroyed Djibouti 4-0, while Mo Salah and Ahmed Said, or Zizou, they scored both of the goals to earn a comfortable 2-0 win against Ethiopia. Lassina Traore put Burkina Faso 1-0 up against an underrated Guinea-Bissau, but they soon leveled the scores until Lassina Traore scored yet again to give Burkina Faso a crucial win for their qualification hopes. Ethiopia destroyed Djibouti 6-1, and a single goal by Zizou gave Egypt a narrow 1-0 win over Sierra Leone. In Group E, Dr. Congo barely scraped past South Sudan thanks to a late first half goal. Togo actually went up for once in just 4 minutes, but like always, they choked the lead and they conceded 2 goals in just 3 minutes. Luckily, Kevin Denke saved Togo and they barely salvaged a point and earned yet another draw. Sudan and Senegal played in a goalless draw, and that gives Sudan a huge advantage if they want to qualify for the World Cup for the first time. Sudan had a chance to widen the gap between them, DR Congo, and Senegal, and it looked like a routine win as they went 1-0 up, but they bottled hard in the last minute against rivals South Sudan, and that result, coupled with Dr. Congo and Senegal's 2-0 wins over Mauritania and Togo respectively, means they are languishing in third, 1 point behind the automatic qualifying spot. Benin had a chance to go top of Group C after going 2-0 up over Zimbabwe, but they conceded right before halftime, and conceded again for Zimbabwe to level the score, and Benin to absolutely bottle. Rwanda's time at the top of Group C is over, only because of an Osimhen masterclass, scoring a brace to give Nigeria actual hope in this qualifying campaign. South Africa scored 2 goals in 4 minutes to win 2-0 over Lesotho, and another 2-0 win over Benin puts them in prime position to qualify for the World Cup themselves for the first time since when they hosted it in 2010. Osimhen struck yet again for Nigeria, but they bottled yet again in the 90th minute, giving Zimbabwe and themselves their 4th draw. Same story for Rwanda against Lesotho, as Rwanda went 1-0 up but choked late on. Now in Group D, Cameroon somehow fumbled against last place Eswatini and drew 0-0. Cape Verde would capitalize on the opportunity to go top thanks to a late winner over Mauritius. Libya also had a chance to go joint top after going 1-0 up against Angola, but they bottled in just the last minutes to fumble all 3 points. Filani Nkonto scored 2 goals in just 6 minutes to put Eswatini 2-0 up and give them a good chance at getting their first win. However, Mauritius scored 2 goals in half that time right after the half. However, Mai Ibonwe Mabuza came on and found what would be the winner just 5 minutes after being subbed on. But in the last minute, like every match in Africa, they hard bottled and Mauritius salvaged a point, which means Eswatini bottled a chance to get their first win. Dylan Livramento put an overperforming Cape Verde side up, but Angola are not to be messed with at all, as they leveled the scores right after the break. However, Livramento clutched up for Cape Verde to help them earn another crucial win for the bid to qualify for the first ever World Cup. Cameroon cruised past Libya 3-1, which leaves the standings with Cape Verde the last surprise team top of the group, with Cameroon just 1 point behind. You know how I said Morocco couldn't choke this? First thing they do is concede to Niger. Luckily, Ismail Sabari soon leveled the scores, and Bilal El Kranous found the winner in injury time to put Morocco with 12 for 12 points with 3 games to go. 9 for Guerra and Brahim Diaz's goals against Tanzania was enough for a 2-0 win. Gabon got an easy 3-0 win over Seychelles, while Musa Barrow missed a penalty. Musa Barrow did redeem himself, and Brighton forward Yakuba Minteh doubled the lead. Honestly, I thought Minteh played for Ivory Coast, but I guess I was wrong. Kenya earned the penalty midway through the second half, with Mikel Oluga pulling one back, and Mohamed Bayaber found the equalizer to level the scores until Musa Barrow scored what would be the winner, only for Kenya to find the equalizer in the last minute of the match, which meant Gambia absolutely bottled a chance to get needed points. Burundi may have been impressive in this qualifying campaign so far, but they were no match for the mighty Ivorians. Despite playing well, Evan Gosend, who has been popping off for Nice recently, found the winner, so Ivory Coast keep their unbeaten run going. Aubameyang cooked against Kenya with a brace to help them beat them. Sebastian Haller was equally essential for Ivory Coast against Gambia, scoring the winner winner and a 1-0 win, which means Gambia can no longer automatically qualify anymore. Burundi did worse to the Seychelles, however, eliminating them with a 5-0 demolition. Over in Group G, Mozambique and Uganda had some early drama. Beppo Santos scored in just the 3rd minute, but Mohamed Shaban equalized just 4 minutes later. Beppo Santos got the lead back. Stanley Ratifo made sure there would be another comeback with a goal before the break. Amin Gouiri and Mohamed Amoura put Algeria 2-0 up, but Botswana kept fighting and eventually found a way back into the match, only for Amoura to score his brace. And Guinea, despite having the Champions League top goal scorer, couldn't score against Somalia. They couldn't score again, but this time as punishment for their incompetence in front of goal, they got scored on by Alain Okelio for Uganda and lost 1-0. Botswana kept themselves in the conversation with a 2-0 win against Somalia. And then in a top of the table clash between Algeria and Mozambique, Mozambique got absolutely humiliated, touched, destroyed, dominated, 5-1. Hazem Mastori scored the only goal for Tunisia against a pretty underrated Liberian side, overperforming. Namibia are still on the tail after a winner against Malawi by Prince Dihueza. Emilio Ansue is back from suspension just in time for the qualifiers and scored along with Iban Salvador for a 2-0 win against Sao Tome and Principe. Namibia went up against them in the next match day, but Sao Coco salvaged a draw for them, and Namibia bottled a chance to stay 2 points behind Tunisia. Liberia scored 2 first-half goals to earn a comfortable win over last place Sao Tome and Principe. 2 extremely late goals afterwards helped Tunisia to earn the win over Malawi. Now finally in Group I, after falling behind to the Central African Republic, Madagascar scored 4 to destroy them and give themselves a better position to qualify. The Comoros got absolutely touched by Mali and lost 3-0, which means their reign at the top is over, replaced by Ghana, who destroyed Chad 5-0. An early first half goal for the Comoros against Chad again secured all 3 points for them. Central African Republic and Mali couldn't be separated and ended 0-0. And Ghana, ever since they lost to the Comoros and got eliminated from the AFCON qualifying, they have been on fire for some reason and put 3 past Madagascar, with Jordan Ayew assisting all 3. After the window, here are all the standings. First off, with Group A, Egypt are still top with 16 points and could qualify next window after 2 consecutive wins against Ethiopia and Sierra Leone. Burkina Faso rose to second after beating Djibouti and former second place Guinea-Bissau and now have 11 points and are back on track to making the second round. Sierra Leone also beat Guinea-Bissau, which means they are third despite the loss to Egypt, and they have 8 points and couldn't make the second round as they are just 3 points away from Burkina Faso. Ethiopia finally won a game where they destroyed Djibouti and now are 4th ahead of Guinea-Bissau on goal difference. Meanwhile, Guinea-Bissau went from second, a potential playoff spot, all the way down to 5th, not even close to the playoffs after losses to fellow playoff contenders Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso. And it doesn't look like they'll make it as they are 5 points behind Burkina Faso and they have 6 points. Meanwhile, Djibouti can only make the second round after losses to Burkina Faso and Ethiopia, but let's be real, they ain't making it.
And your dreams come true, and I wonder if you know.
After 3 consecutive wins against the 3 worst teams in Group B, Togo, South Sudan, and Mauritania, Dr. Congo are now top with 13 points, but right behind them by 1 point is Senegal and Sudan, tied, who played each other but couldn't be separated. Sudan could have been top, but they choked in the last minute to rivals South Sudan, which is not good as Senegal took care of business against Togo, and they play against each other in the next window. Togo didn't know how to win games because all they do is draw and couldn't beat this terrible Mauritania team. And after the loss to Senegal, they find themselves 9 points away from the top spot and 8 from the playoffs. So it's safe to say it's over for Togo. And it is also for South Sudan. And despite the draw against bitter rivals Sudan, they have 3 points, 1 behind Togo, and just 1 more loss sees them eliminated. And Mauritania can now only make the second round, even though they drew Togo. But come on, they have 2 points. That's like a 10-point difference. South Africa are now top of Group C with important wins against former 4th place Lesotho and current 3rd place Benin. And they have 13 points and are 5 points clear of both Benin and Rwanda. Rwanda could have stayed top, but they lost to the frauds Nigeria and bottled to Lesotho late on. Benin could have gone top also, but they bottled just like Rwanda against last place Zimbabwe and lost to fellow contender South Africa. It seems like no one besides South Africa knows how to win, however, because after beating Rwanda, Nigeria somehow choked the last place Zimbabwe, and as a result, are languishing in 4th with 7 points and 6 points behind 1st place South Africa. Lesotho, despite a promising start, lost to 1st place South Africa and couldn't beat Rwanda, which means they fall down to 5th. And as for Zimbabwe, They're somehow still in contention after 2 draws against Benin and Nigeria. Cape Verde's 2 wins against Mauritius and Angola means they are surprisingly top and have a good shot at making their first ever World Cup with 13 points, 1 ahead of Cameroon. And Cameroon, for some reason, decided to draw to Eswatini. They did redeem themselves, beating Libya, a Libya team that initially held them to a draw. And speaking of Libya, they have 8 points and could have tightened the gap between them going into their match against them, but instead they choked in the last minute to Angola, who they are 1 point ahead, and they find themselves 4 points behind Cameroon in the second round spot. Angola still have a chance, but after drawing a match where they needed to win against Libya and a loss to Cape Verde, it ain't looking good. Mauritius somehow couldn't beat Eswatini and give themselves a better chance of qualifying, and as a result, they are 5th, 2 points behind Angola, and 7 behind second Cameroon. And Eswatini had a really decent window after their abysmal start, but the football gods hate them still after they sold in the last minute to Mauritius, which means they are 10 points behind Cameroon in second with no hope of qualifying. Morocco are guaranteed of finishing second in Group E after 2 wins against second and third place Niger and Tanzania, and will most likely qualify next window. Niger and Tanzania are tied on 6 points and only played 1 match this window, both against Morocco. So whoever can win the match against each other and beat Zambia will most likely make it to the second round, or at least finish second. With Tanzania beating both teams already, meaning they have the advantage. Zambia can only qualify for the second round and didn't even play this window, which means they have to max out on points in the next windows, otherwise they are cooked. The standings in Group F remain the same, just with different point tallies. The Ivorians remain top with 16 points after narrow wins against Burundi and Gambia, and Gabon are still in contention after their comfortable win against the Seychelles and Aubameyang carrying them against Kenya, and are just 1 point behind Ivory Coast. Burundi eliminated Seychelles, but because of their loss to Ivory Coast, they are 5 points behind the playoff spot and 6 behind Ivory Coast, and will most likely qualify for nothing at all. Kenya chalked an easy chance to get needed points and now at 6 points, 4 behind Burundi and 10 behind the Ivorians. And thanks to Aubameyang, they have an even less chance of qualifying. Gambia can only make the second round after volleying to Kenya and their loss to Ivory Coast, and the Seychelles are out after getting absolutely annihilated by third place Burundi. Algeria are now 3 points clear of Mozambique in Group G after destroying them 5-1 and their 3-1 win in Botswana. Mozambique are still second after beating Uganda 3-1, who they are 3 points ahead of, and are currently on 12 points. Uganda are tied with Botswana and beat the team with the most incompetent attack, Guinea. Botswana remain tied with the Ugandans after 2-0 win against Somalia. Meanwhile, Guinea somehow couldn't find a way past Somalia or Uganda and ended up losing to Uganda and now find themselves with 7 points in 5th, 5 points behind the second place spot. And after being considered the team to potentially challenge Algeria for the top spot, they somehow are 5th. Tunisia are still top with 16 points and are 4 points clear of Namibia after narrow wins against Liberia and Malawi. And Namibia could have been just 2 points behind the Tunisians, but choked against a decent Equatorial Guinean side. Liberia remained 3rd with a win against last place Sao Tome and Principe, where, let's be real, they did not look strong at all. I mean, 2-1 to Sao Tome is like fraudulent. Equatorial Guinea would be 3 points behind Tunisia if they didn't have to forfeit, but instead now they find themselves 5 points behind second Namibia, and they might not even make it to the second round, let alone the World Cup. It's safe to say it's over for Malawi, however, as they lost against both Namibia and Tunisia, where they needed to get points, and are 6 points behind Namibia, while Sao Tome and Principe are officially out after their loss to Liberia. Ghana are back on track with dominant wins to Chad and Madagascar, and are 3 points clear of second place Comoros. Speaking of the Comoros, despite their heavy loss to Mali, remain second after the win to Chad, but the cracks are starting to show because they barely scraped past them 1-0. Madagascar remain 3rd after destroying Central African Republic 4-1, and they can still qualify for the second round as they are just 2 points behind Comoros. Meanwhile, Mali continue being the most inconsistent team in this group after beating second place Comoros, but drawing to 5th place Central African Republic, and are 3 points behind Comoros, so all hope is not lost. All hope is lost for both Central African Republic and Chad, however, as Central African Republic are 10 points behind first place Ghana and 7 points behind Comoros, and it doesn't help that they couldn't beat this fraudulent Mali team and got smashed by Madagascar. Meanwhile, Chad are eliminated after the narrow loss to the Comoros. And breathe. Finally, bro, that's probably the longest segment, even longer than Europe, since I only have to cover like half the groups. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.